just a bit. And we're also going to take a look at Halloween in this half hour, of course, by a professional couple. They're going to talk about the child psychology of Halloween. They say there's a lot to like about Halloween and a lot to like about getting dressed up and getting scared. Witches and goblins to come in this half hour. But let's say a good morning on this Friday again to Jane.
And Ken Bodie's Journal this morning profiles some of the senatorial and gubernatorial races to be decided in next Tuesday's election. More significantly, perhaps, he gives us a bettor's guide to predicting the winners.
Let's start this hour by getting caught up on the news. At the news desk is John Palmer. Good morning, John.
Good morning. President Reagan campaigns in Utah and New Mexico today. He'll be asking voters in both of those states to re-elect Republican senators, and both races there are considered to be very close. Mr. Reagan spent the night in Las Vegas after a campaign appearance in which he said the Democrats are deliberately misrepresenting his position on Social Security.
They're going to tell you that we, and I really include myself because I'm kind of a target of that in some way we're on our way to changing or reducing or doing away with Social Security. Now, that is sheer demagoguery, and it is an outright falsehood.
In the New York State race for governor, the latest polls show Democrat Mario Cuomo ahead of Republican Lou Lehrman. Mike Moss has a report.
Cuomo is a political insider. He's been the state's lieutenant governor for 8 years. Lehrman is a wealthy outsider, a businessman making his first bid for public office. Lehrman has loaned his campaign $7 million.
How do you respond to people who say, Lou Lehrman, you're trying to buy this election?
I say nonsense.
Cuomo's modest means and Lehrman's wealth are as big a contrast as their political positions. Cuomo is the liberal here, Lehrman the conservative, who's been an enthusiastic backer of Reaganomics.
I say it would be a terrible mistake if this state now chose to go back to Reaganomics, and that's what my opponent represents.
But Lehrman says the 40% tax cut he proposes over 8 years will save the state's economy.
The goal of my economic renewal program is to create 200,000 new jobs a year in New York State.
The candidates have had several debates covering a wide range of issues. Lehrman supports the death penalty for cold-blooded murder. Cuomo prefers mandatory life sentences. Lehrman wants to cut welfare spending. Cuomo says such cuts would be a turning away from government's mission.
The polls show Cuomo with a comfortable lead, but political surprises have happened here before, so both candidates are planning hectic schedules of last-minute campaign appearances. Mike Moss, NBC News, New York.
In Northern Ireland, the Irish Republican Army says it kidnapped and killed a sergeant in the Ulster Defence League. Protestant extremists have kidnapped a 16-year-old Catholic youth. Socialists in Spain danced in the streets during the night to celebrate a sweeping election victory. The socialists will have a comfortable majority in Parliament. Their program calls for reclaiming Gibraltar from the British and renegotiating the agreement for American bases in Spain. In this country, in Brooklyn, a school that was formerly known simply as Public School 380 now has a name as well as a number. Norma Quarles explains.
John Wayne made 150 movies and was best known for his portrayals of straight-shooting, high-principled heroes of the Old West. And it was those qualities that led officials in a Hispanic area of Brooklyn to name this school the John Wayne Elementary School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
6 of John Wayne's 7 children were on hand for the dedication ceremonies. There was a telegram from President Reagan and a proclamation by the governor. Michael Wayne, the Duke's eldest son, presented a bust of his father to the school.
Overwhelmed by all the warmth and feeling expressed by the people here in Brooklyn. It's really been terrific, and it's touched the whole family.
The school is filled with John Wayne memorabilia, and while most of these students haven't seen many John Wayne movies, they know what he stood for.
It's for the good guys. He only shoots the bad guys that bother Americans or bother other people.
Officials say no matter what the ethnic makeup of this community in the future, the name John Wayne will always symbolize the good guy image that Wayne portrayed on the screen. Norma Quarles, NBC News, Brooklyn, New York.
The NFL football talks resume this weekend here in New York City, and many people believe this is the last chance, the last shot at saving the football season. That's a look at news and sports. Again, here's Brian.
Thank you, John. Coming up on 8:06 now, turn our attention to Mr. Willard Scott and the weather. We should remind people, and we're going to do it throughout the course of the day.
Yes.
We can make this
Daylight
the first
time.
reminder. That's right.
Definitely.
Tomorrow night, spring ahead, fall back, push your clock back.
You gain an hour. It's the greatest time of the year. You sleep in late. That and the fact that I don't care. I'm just going to make my own rule up. I don't say, don't take candy from anybody that you don't know. Don't let the kids bring anything into the house. Don't let them have anything that you don't know where it came from. There are too many cuckoos out there. That's Willie's thought for the day.
Who's your friend?
This is my bookworm from Richmond, Virginia. The Westminster Canterbury House down there is having a book fair, and it all goes to charity, and it takes place today and tomorrow in beautiful Richmond, Virginia. Isn't he cute?
They want to turn it that way.
He's got little eyeglasses there. He is a bookworm. Let's check the act this morning and see if the weather worm is working this morning. We have indeed some problems across the country. Most of them are out west. Stormy over Washington, Oregon, Northern California, and in western Nevada. Morning freezes over New Mexico, the Texas Panhandle, heavy thunder showers, southeastern Texas, all the way up through the Mississippi Valley, and fog throughout New England this morning, but that will burn off. This is really a big storm. I mean, a good-sized storm. Started out here yesterday in the Pacific Coast, gale winds from Washington down to Northern California. Lots of rain, up to an inch and a half in the last 2 days. Heavy snow in the Cascades of California. That will translate to the Cascades of Oregon later on today, and then as the whole mishmash moves towards the east over the weekend, could be up to a foot of snow in parts of the northern and central Rockies. Ski buffs are going gaga goo-goo. Morning freezes, New Mexico, West Texas. Heavy thunder showers from Texas and the east coast all the way up through the lower Mississippi Valley. But throughout the northern and central plains, it is beautiful, a little cooler than normal. We do have some rain in parts of Michigan today. Detroit's going to be cloudy and showers. Northern Ohio, northern Indiana. Chicago should be lovely. And we say Indian summer is beautiful today here in the east. Saturday, thunder showers along the Gulf, thunder showers central California, mountain snows in the central and northern Rockies, otherwise lovely. For Sunday, Halloween, mountain flurries, northern Rockies, turning to showers in the southern Rockies, thunder showers along the Gulf Coast and the southeast, otherwise molto bene. That's it. That's the act this morning. Now, here's what's happening in your world right now.
In Portland, Vancouver, News 8's Jim Little is forecasting decreasing rain, partial afternoon clearing. The high today in the mid-50s.
We have a lovely birthday wish, Ellie Lindsay, and she lives in Earlville, Maryland. She's 100 years old today. One of the nicest things about this birthday wish is her husband is 96, and he's just as happy as a clam and healthy as a horse. They've been married 73 years. That's a tough act to follow. Now, here's Jane.
In London at election time, you can walk into a betting shop and put a quid in your favorite candidate. In this country, there is no Las Vegas line on senators and governors. But Bodie's Journal this morning fixes that. Ken Bodie's got some tips on who the best bets are. Morning, Ken.
Morning, Jane. At a racetrack, horse players poke around the stables and the paddocks trying to pick up a little inside dope. Politics is the same way. You want to make an election bet, and the other guy knows more than you do, you're better off to say you left your money in your other pants. Well, I'm going to try to help you this morning. First, the Senate races.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Here's Senator Hayakawa, the man Californians are going to replace, and you can see why.
Senator Hayakawa.
In any language, this is Jerry Brown. His opponent, Mayor Pete Wilson, whose principal asset is that he's not Jerry Brown. Californians will throw a bomb into the Senate. They're going to send Brown. Minnesota, incumbent Senator Dave Durenberger back campaigning every weekend.
How you doing, huh? Good. No, Leo. How you doing?
Just plain
Lyle? Les. Here's a nice try.
His opponent is Democrat Mark Dayton, heir to a department store fortune. Dayton campaigns like a department store floor walker, but he is spending millions. And don't bet against the money in this one. Massachusetts, Republican Ray Shammy let it be known that if he could ever get Ted Kennedy into a debate, he could beat him. They met, they shook hands, and that's the only time Shammy touched him. In other words, he never laid a glove on Kennedy. This one's in the satchel for the Democrat. Millicent Hammond Fenwick, New Jersey aristocratic right down to the pipe. Republican, of course. She's the real Lacey Davenport. Versus Frank Lautenberg, a Democratic self-made millionaire.
Why shouldn't I use my legitimately gotten money to make my case?
You should, Frank, you should. But it won't do you any good. Bet Fenwick in this one, but don't give away too many points. All right, if you're going to bet the Mississippi election, you have John Stennis, 81 years old and going strong. His opponent is Haley Barber. Barber subtly tells folks the old Democrat is, well, too old.
Who can get his foot in the door faster than the United States Senator?
That's right, Haley, and after 30 years, Mississippians figure old man Stennis knows which doors to put his feet in. Put your money on the older fella in this race. Now, if you're inclined to bet the governor's races, marching in the parade here is Big Jim Thompson of Illinois. Once a boy wonder of Republican politics, Thompson now has several chins. His opponent, Adlai Stevenson. Stevenson accused Thompson of calling him a wimp. For a month, that's all anyone talked about in Illinois. Was Stevenson a wimp or wasn't he? In the barbershops and pool halls, this one's a walkaway for Thompson. California, will Tom Bradley be the first black elected governor, or will George Duke Majan be the first Armenian?
On November 2nd, the people of California are going to elect Tom Bradley, the tallest governor in the history of the state.
If you can scare up any action on this race, put your money on the tall guy. Finally, Alabama. George Wallace has had the job before, and he wants it again.
The people of this state, black and white, don't all vote together on anything, and I have my friends in both races.
His opponent, Republican Mayor Emory Fulmer. Fulmer used to wear a pistol on the job, but for the campaign, he traded in the gun for quilting bees. Quilting bees? In Alabama, if your money's on Wallace, it's hay in the barn. Come on, Tammy, what are you, a Republican or a Democrat?
Tammy Wynette's got the idea. She's got money down on both sides.
Well done.
We shall see about these predictions, Ken. You took the easy ones. Now, the tough one. How many seats are the Democrats going to win, and will the Republicans hold on to their control of the Senate?
Well, let's take a look in the crystal ball, Jane. The crystal ball says that Bryant Gumbel's firstborn will grow up to be a Chicago precinct captain, and you should bet a horse named My Man Milton in the 6th race at Hialeah. How's that for predictions?
Not real good. The little guy's going to grow up to be a Chicago Cub. We'll be back in a moment with word on how Halloween actually is good to kids. But first, This Is Today on NBC.
What are we having?
Oh, surprise.
Fish sticks.
No, they're chicken sticks.
They look like fish sticks.
Taste it.
Tastes like
chicken.
Chicken.
100% chicken. Banquet chicken sticks.
Terrific idea. I bet you the fish stick people are mad.
No.
Sure they are.
Well, maybe a little.
New Banquet sticks, nuggets, and patties are 100% tender, juicy chicken. Gonna drive fish stick lovers mad.
I told you.
There she is, 16 Fs on his side of the plane. Now United reserves my favorite seat to Florida weeks ahead, and it's not going to gobble up my wallet. And while I'm speaking of gobbling, I guess it's about time to dig in. I get my choice of entree. Ooh, son, consider a little trade.
Sure.
You know, after relaxing with United's famous sunbird service, I'm ready to face the challenges of Florida.
Now, Estee Lauder helps skin care become skin repair. Introducing her new Night Repair, a cellular recovery complex that works every night to help speed the natural repair of cell damage from the day's ultraviolet light. Estee Lauder's new Night Repair. There has never been any beauty treatment like it. Use it and wake up to better-looking skin.
Night Repair, now at Meyer and Frank, all stores.
Do you promise to love, honor, and listen to what Ann Lander says about marriage?
I do.
There's nothing square about Family Circle.
Tear out and save our exclusive recipe cards and make a dozen delicious holiday desserts.
There's nothing square about Family Circle.
Thin your thighs, firm your fanny. Great ideas, still only 69 cents. Check it out.
There's nothing square about Family Circle.
Today on After 8, the healthy side of the Halloween creeps. We begin the story in Sean Kelly's third grade class at Rolling Hills Elementary School in Holland, Pennsylvania. And believe it or not, there are still kids who make their own costumes.
Well, I suck blood, I live in a coffin, and at night I come out. And sometimes I change into bats.
I am a mummy.
We thought it would be a neat costume because it kind of scares us, so we like scary costumes.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. His skin was pale and his eye was odd. He shaved the faces of gentlemen who never thereafter were heard of again. He trod a path that few have trod, did Sweeney Todd, a demon barber of Fleet Street.
Kind of like a goblin, a two-headed monster. It's fun. You chop their heads off. I am a balloon smurfette.
A dragon is something that it's almost like a lizard. Some of them are green, some of them are gold, and some of them are black.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. He served a dark and vengeful God. He served a dark and vengeful God. What happened then? Well, that's the play.
Spider soup with toadstools. No. Let's have some spider and frog legs with soup on the side. No. How about spider soup with cobwebs and frog legs? All right, that sounds good. You're a cold face. You're a bloody nose. So what?
Not Sweeney Todd. The kingdom of the street.
Joining us now, writer and child development specialist Susan Isaacs and child psychotherapist Robert Royton. Look, we have just seen witches, goblins, scary masks, everything else. And you say it's good to act out those characters?
Oh, that was terrific. You saw the kids involved in creating these costumes, and that's one of the most important things about Halloween. And most of those kids were involved in creating something frightening and scary.
Why? What are they trying to tell us?
Well, when the kids can do that, they become that frightening thing, and they can act it out. They're in control of it. And that's something about growing up that's so wonderful. They learn how to cope with the scary, frightening aspects of the world.
Do children tend to take on a character that they most admire, that most frightens them, that most confuses them? What?
I think it depends on the process they use to decide on Halloween. Often there's a lot of decisions made and discarded. My kids have decided several times during the past 2 weeks there would be something, and then, oh no, I'm through with that after. But a lot of it is talked about with peers and what has status at a particular time or what has meaning to them.
Well, you're holding some things that have meaning to youngsters these days. Go ahead, you hold that one, and I'll grab our little friend here. Watch, I drop it as I do this. You're holding E.T., I'm holding Darth Vader. They tell us that the Richard Nixon mask now is still popular also. What's wrong with youngsters going and getting a store-bought costume?
Well, one of the things, Bob and I had written an article for Parents Magazine that came out this month, and the thing we were trying to emphasize, this little mask retails for $50, and I bet you that 2 days after my son bought it, he wouldn't be interested in it anymore. And I think that if he had made his own costume, that it would be much more meaning to him. He would have felt involved in creating this identity, and there would be more satisfaction in it. Oh, he's awful cute.
In the film we just saw, all of those kids had created their own identities. They'd put themselves into it. Therefore, they had some meaning personally. You saw them also talking about the characteristics of these various costumes that they had. And so they try this on, and then maybe next week they would have something different. And so they try things on.
Well, what about from a parent's point of view? Should you ask your youngster to define the character, or is defining it not really important?
Oh, this is one of the things that's really helpful. Halloween is a children's holiday. It's the only one that's really devoted to children. And so therefore the adult world can participate and help children define those characteristics, bring out what they're thinking about it is.
What about limitations? Allow your child to be whatever he or she wants to be, or do you at some point say, hey, that's really not too terrific? I mean, let his imagination carry him where they want?
Someone was telling me the other day that their child wanted to be a punk rocker, and so they discussed all the connotations of how they felt about punk rock, and I guess he decided afterwards to be a mad scientist, but I think he was moving on anyway to a new identity. But one of the things Bob and I were concerned about, it's funny, this mask you'd think would be, it's certainly very benign, but it's when it was taken into a child care center in Oakland the other day, kids were terrified of it.
Well, I was going to say, separate problem. What do you do with youngsters, particularly little ones, who are frightened by the mask of Halloween?
Well, younger children, especially the 2-, 3-, and 4-year-olds, cannot tell the difference between the mask and the person behind it.
That's right.
And so therefore, they're frightened. Even if you take off the mask, they're still frightened for a while because you've become that.
So what do you do as a parent? Try to tell them, hey, it's okay, let them be frightened that it's healthy, think they'll outgrow it? What? Do what?
No, for the younger child, you don't involve them in these frightening kinds of things. And so therefore, and little ones can stay home with the parents, and if they want to peek out at the children coming to the door, fine.
You can also ask them, I was thinking in terms of limitations, that was one limitation that would make sense, that, you know, you may be attracted to this scary mask, but for a young child, maybe you'd want to steer them away from it.
This can be a little gruesome, I would guess. Trick or treat. Susan Isaacs, Robert Royton, thank you very much. We'll be back in a moment, but first, this is Today on NBC.
Welcome to the Valley Village pre-Halloween sale party. Won't you join us? Where you can taste all the savings you find. Half the price off all the used clothing you like. So get on down for your Halloween wear. Don't be a ghoul and let these savings fly by. Join me after dusk. I want to see you there.
If you have a happy dog, then the owner has to be happy too.
Ray Perry, top breeder of champion Kerry Blue Terriers.
I believe that the Calcan feeding program is the most important thing in a dog's life.
Big, beefy chunks of Calcan is what makes my dogs really enjoy eating.
Calcan has protein for strong muscles, vitamins for sharp eyes, calcium for strong bones and teeth, and whole egg for a shiny coat. He thinks I'm a can of Calcan.
Calcan, recommended by top breeders to help make your dog top breeder healthy.
I like to keep myself sparkling clean and fresh. Now, if you want all-day freshness, there's this new concentrated cleaner called Blue. Just pop Blue in the tank, then every time I flush, I get a Blue detergent rinse that helps clean and deodorize me for up to a month. The tablet dissolves, so there's no dripping mess to remove, and my fingers don't get stained. I tell you, Blue makes me feel brand new. Try concentrated Blue. It's the simplest bowl cleaner yet.
Your car depends on you for protection, and you can depend on quality Purolator air and oil filters from G.I. Joe's. Purolator's value-conscious XSV filters and Purolator's premium filters for import and domestic cars both. Sale priced at 1/3 off. Do it yourself and save. And save 1/3 off on all Purolator air and oil filters at G.I. Joe's today.
G.I. Joe's.
Do it right with Purolator.
We've got what it takes.
And coming up on the next half hour, we are going to discuss Halloween with a real witch. Whether a good witch or a bad witch remains to be seen. At 8:24, it's time for a station break.
Friday.
You and me on a date?
Boggles the mind, doesn't it? There's only one man who can turn a date into disaster.
Remington Steele.
It's a kaleidoscope of fun on Friday's PM Magazine.
Hello again, I'm Cheryl Hansen.
No, I'm Cheryl Hansen. Join us for PM Friday.
Who am I?
Meet world-famous psychic Jean Dixon for a fascinating glimpse into the future. Then go behind the scenes and discover creepy secrets of the frightening new horror classic Creepshow. Plus, Cheryl Hansen meets a Beaverton man who collects gasoline engines. It's a great evening of entertainment on Friday's PM Magazine, 7:30 here on Channel 8. Search for Tomorrow, weekdays at 12:30 on Channel 8.
Good morning, it's 8:25. This is News 8. I'm Steve Irmo, and with me is Hank Stack. Portland police are bearing down on prostitution again. The managers of a North Portland motel have been arrested and charged with promoting prostitution. Nanindra and Jaira Patel, both 30 years old, are the managers of the Crown Motel. They are accused of knowingly renting rooms to prostitutes. Yesterday's arrests are the result of a 10-month undercover operation, with Portland police posing as prostitutes and customers renting rooms in several North Portland motels. Police hope the bust will shake up other motel owners.
This is a test case for us. It obviously is going to make other people that might be engaged in similar kinds of activity much more cautious.
Multnomah County will try to close the motel under a public nuisance statute. Portland police this morning are looking for a man who escaped from the Oregon State Correctional Institution. 20-year-old Jim Parmalee led police on a high-speed chase throughout the streets of Portland late yesterday after escaping in one of the prison's trucks. The chase ended up in the Tigard area where police and dogs lost track of him. It's believed Parmalee has now stolen a white Datsun pickup. He was serving 2 4-year sentences for unauthorized use of a vehicle. Well, DMSO pioneer Dr. Stanley Jacob was expected to testify in his own defense at his trial in Baltimore, Maryland this morning. But at this moment, attorneys for both sides are meeting behind closed doors with the judge in the case, and that could change. The Portland physician faces charges of bribing a Food and Drug Administration official. That official has already pleaded guilty to accepting unauthorized funds. Yesterday, a long line of witnesses took the stand in rapid succession, praising Jacob's generosity.
Pete, is a fine without a conviction. I mean, the trial costs are monies that I've borrowed to pay for counsel and transportation and other expenses.
Jacob still maintains the money he gave FDA official Casey Pani was to help him with his wife's medical expenses, not a payoff to win approval of DMSO. A circuit court judge in Eugene today plans to issue a final ruling on whether contracts between some Oregon public utilities and 2 terminated Whoops nuclear power plants are valid. The case stems from a suit by ratepayers challenging the Springfield Utilities District's authority to offer to help finance the 2 Whoops projects. In an earlier ruling, the judge said the utilities violated debt limitations laws by making their agreements without voter approval. Right now, the debt owed Whoops by the Springfield Utility District alone stands at $123 million. Well, the former site of the ICN laboratories in southeast Portland has been given a clean bill of health, finally. Former employees of the medical lab had accused the laboratory of burying containers of hazardous materials on the property. But the DEQ says there are no toxic substances
Some employees did tell us that there are barrels buried there, but they're barrels full of either tar roofing that they use. This flat roof needs to be tarred often, or they're barrels of concrete and other materials that were used in renovating some of the laboratory itself.
The DEQ is still trying to find out who left 15 barrels of highly toxic materials on the property in an unrelated incident. Well, close to 10,000 Oregon students had a chance to express their political views yesterday in a mock election. The students, mostly high schoolers, gave Republican Governor Vic Atia about 60% of their votes. Democratic Party challenger State Senator Ted Kulongoski received 40% of the vote. Students also gave the nod to incumbent Labor Commissioner Mary Roberts over challenger Mike Wooten, and they endorsed State School Superintendent Vern Duncan over his opponent, William Kendrick. Well, we've had a lot of rain overnight. That will gradually taper off today. We're going to take a look at weather now around the state. On the coast, small craft advisories up this morning. Rain ending this morning, becoming partly cloudy this afternoon. Highs in the mid-50s. Saturday, some morning fog, chance of rain by afternoon with highs in the mid-50s. For the Cascades, gusty winds, rain heavy at times today, decreasing rain and partial clearing tonight, freezing level at about 6,000 feet. And for eastern and central Oregon, westerly winds to 15 miles per hour. Rainy periods today. That will decrease overnight, and then partly sunny tomorrow. Lows tonight down into the 30s. And for Portland, Vancouver, easterly winds, decreasing rain after some afternoon clearing today. Some morning fog tomorrow. Highs today in the mid-50s. That's news and weather for now. For Hank and me, have a good weekend. And News 8 will be back at noon.
Why do 100,000-mile flyers choose United?
If you want to make it big in the West, you've got to be too good to resist. Like United, they've got great schedules and extra goodies like advanced check-in and low fares. Makes every trip a treat.
United flies throughout the West with over 190 flights a day.
With United's West Coast service, I can keep my business cooking and still stay in the chips.
People who fly for a living fly United's friendly skies.
Costume contest on Friday's Northwest Today.
And we're back at 8:30, and as we continue our series on unemployment this week, Bob Dotson catches up with an unemployed family we first met last year, only now it's 6 jobs and 3 states later. And this being Halloween, you're going to talk about dressing up a little bit?
But not Darth Vader. That's a bad guy. We're going to talk to a witch, indeed, but a good witch, I think, is what she called herself. We're also going to meet one of the most popular women. She hasn't had the best luck in the world, but is one of the beloved women of the city of Cleveland. Her name is Rena Bloomberg, and we'll talk to her in this half hour.
Let's first get caught up on the news on this Friday morning at 8:30, and at the news desk is John Palmer. John?
Good morning. In Chicago, the task force investigating the 7 Tylenol murders says the cyanide mixture found inside an 8th contaminated bottle is substantially different from those found earlier, and the FBI has so far been unable to match a fingerprint found in that bottle. Across the nation this weekend, communities will be taking precautions to ensure a safe Halloween for millions of children. The rash of reported product tamperings in the wake of the Chicago Tylenol murders has made this Halloween season genuinely scary for parents fearful that their children might be victims of copycat criminals. The parents of 11-month-old Jamie Fisk say they're optimistic that a transplant donor will be found to save the life of their little girl, who otherwise will die from a rare liver disease. Jamie's father made an emotional appeal to a convention of pediatricians to find a donor. Earlier on today, the Fisks said they've been told a new drug has a good chance of overcoming transplant rejection.
I guess what they're basing it on is for the past 1.5 to 2 years with the use of cyclosporin A, the drug that supposedly and hopefully helps lessen the rejection. And that is the hope that we have for Jamie.
The doctors have told us it's Jamie's only chance, and that gives us enough of a hope to be 100% optimistic.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth is in the middle of a 16,000-mile journey through Commonwealth nations in the South Pacific and Africa. We have a report on her travels from Rick Davis in London. Watch this.
It has been a long time since Britannia ruled the waves, but a royal yacht of a kind was on the waves near the South Pacific island of Tuvalu. Queen Elizabeth was carried high on the shoulders of the islanders as the yacht left the water. Tuvalu was once a British possession when it was called the Ellis Islands. But on the Queen's tour of the South Pacific, it briefly looked like empire was still reality instead of a glory long past. This visit included a feast, and what a dainty dish it was to set before a queen. Not quite 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie, but it was roast bat and stewed blackbirds with beaks and feet. The Queen took a pass and had little chicken and banana. Prince Philip tried a bit of everything. The royal couple has said this has been the most memorable of all their trips. And even rain was considered a good sign here. The Queen got a little damp, but spirits did not. In Tuvalu, rain is said to bring the best of possible luck, and England could use a little of that. Empire may be gone, but for these moments it seemed to flash back as the Queen left the way she came, carried on that canoe that briefly was a royal yacht. Rick Davis, NBC News, London.
And that's the latest from Tuvalu and the latest from the news desk. Here's Brian.
You imagine if Willard had been in that canoe and twice as many natives down there. Willard will have the weather in the moment, and then Jane talks to one of Cleveland's favorite daughters right after these messages.
My hands are my business, even with arthritis pain, but I can't take aspirin.
Now get aspirin-free arthritis pain formula.
I type for a living, even with arthritis pain, but I can't take aspirin.
Now get aspirin-free arthritis pain formula. Aspirin-free, maximum strength.
I can't let arthritis pain slow me down, but I can't take aspirin.
Get aspirin-free arthritis pain formula or regular arthritis pain formula for hours of relief from minor arthritis pain flare-ups.
What are you making?
We're even having waffles for breakfast.
Waffles? That's not how Mommy makes them.
Daddies make them their own way. No, everything's fine, hon. Gotta go. Love you.
Here's how Mommy makes them.
Aunt Jemima waffles. Crispy outside, tender inside. Good old-fashioned waffles.
Just like Mommy makes.
My skin is different than my skin. And my skin is different than
my skin. But we all have one thing in common. Mary Kay.
Mary Kay is a scientifically formulated skincare system created to work with your type of skin.
And taught to you by a professional Mary Kay beauty consultant.
To find the Mary Kay beauty consultant nearest you, look in the yellow pages under cosmetics.
Because every skin is different. You need skincare that's different.
You need Mary Kay.
8:35 on this morning, and who is that?
This is Granny Smith. For those of you who are not an apple aficionados, Granny Smith is one of the finest apples in the world. This green apple came from Washington State, Tacoma. To be exact, it came from Fox Island, Washington, and they put some glasses, a little hairpiece, and some lashes, and this is Granny Smith. I think that's cute.
That's kind of nice. Can we say it again? We said it before. We'll say it again. Spring ahead, fall back. Tomorrow night.
That's right.
Push the clock back 1 hour.
You gain 1 hour. That's good. I was up in beautiful Syracuse, New York last night. Flew over those marvelous Catskills and saw the fantastic... Oh, excuse me. This is a pointer. I spoke to the Agway people, the agricultural people of the Northeast, and they 5,000 farmers, and I had the best time that I've had in a long time. Good chicken dinner, but they gave me this pointer. It's made out of New York State elm wood, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'll see you in just a minute. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Let's check the weather map this morning and see the jet stream flowing gently, sweet afternoon. A storm over Washington, Oregon, and Northern California is the big culprit today. Temperatures in the 30s in the Northern Rockies. I'll use my pointer. I think this is pretty classy. How about the first time this act has been legitimate? We have some snow that will really move into the area by the weekend. As a matter of fact, could be up to a foot of snow in the northern and central Rockies by the weekend. That's great for ski buffs. But this storm with gale winds along the coast will produce rain. Already has produced up to an inch of rain in some places in Washington, Oregon, and Northern California, and snow in the Cascades of Washington already. That will continue on into Oregon today. The southwest is beautiful. Some freezes in New Mexico and West Texas. Heavy thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast all the way up to the lower Mississippi Valley. Some showers here in Michigan and northern Ohio and Indiana. But Indian summer is reigning supreme with beautiful weather in the east. Enjoy a safe and gorgeous, glorious Halloween. It's a good time, but be careful. Now, here's what's happening in your world today.
In Portland, Vancouver, News 8's Jim Little is forecasting decreasing rain, partial afternoon clearing. The high today in the mid-50s.
That's all there is. Again, a safe, happy Halloween. It's a good time to have fun. Don't eat anything that you don't know where it came from. That's Uncle Willard's advice. It's about 22 minutes before 9 o'clock. Nothing. Now it's Jane.
Today, Cleveland, Ohio is officially honoring one of its favorite citizens, Rena Blumberg. She has a popular local radio show, has long been an active member of the community, and she's also an author. Today marks the publication of a book called Headstrong. Well, the reason she wrote a book is because she's also a survivor, cancer. Rena Blumberg is with us in the studios of our NBC affiliate in Cleveland, WKYC. Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations on a lot of counts. Why do you say that Cleveland helped heal you?
I believe Cleveland helped heal me because at a time in my life when I was fighting off the thought of death and taking chemotherapy, I turned to life-affirming activity on behalf of my community. Optimistic activity like restoring theaters and bringing the Palace alive where the party will be this morning. Like working for the Women's Coalition, creating a group 25,000 strong now called Woman Space.